As a stand-in, I seized the opportunity to make a fortune. CEO Gu's true love, Luna Lu, had returned. Mrs. Gu placed a check in front of me. The rightful owner is back. A fake like you should step aside. 10 million to leave my son? I stared at the check, stunned. Before I could even open my mouth, she pressed, "What? Is that not enough? 20 million to leave my son?" I took a deep breath, my body rigid. Oh my God, I'd never had so much money in my life. Just as I was about to agree, she said, 30 million, if you still don't agree, I agree. I thought to myself, when will I ever spend all 30 million? Honestly, 10 million would have been perfectly fine. Who knew Mrs. Gu would keep raising the price herself? Turns out, sometimes a slow reaction can be quite beneficial. I looked at her and said, "I'll pack my things and leave today, but I have 2 conditions." Mrs. Gu frowned, her eyes clearly saying, of course, a money grubber. "First, I won't accept a check. It has to be a bank transfer. Second, this money needs to be clearly documented as a gift and notarized." The moment I finished speaking, Mrs. Gu let out a sigh of relief and immediately made a call. 2 minutes later, the Gu family butler arrived with the contract. Following my lawyer's advice from last night, I meticulously checked every clause. Once I was sure there were no issues, I nodded and signed. Mrs. Gu had deliberately chosen a cafe right next to the notary's office for our meeting yesterday, so the notarization process was unexpectedly quick. As soon as everything was done, my phone pinged with a notification. Account balance plus 300,000,000. Ah, the speed of the Gu family. Oh, it's truly blissful to have money. With money, whether it's the moonlight or the moonlight's stand-in, they're all just blinding glare. I waved goodbye to Mrs. Gu cheerfully, even though she completely ignored me. Watching her walk away, I immediately headed straight to the tax office. Paying taxes according to the law is every citizen's duty. After fulfilling my obligation, I looked at my bank balance. That tax deduction stung straight to my core, but it was only 10%, so it was fine. 27 million was enough for me to live comfortably for several lifetimes, but it would be such a waste to just eat well and wait to die with this much money. Ignoring what I'd do with the remaining funds, I walked out of the tax office with my head held high. The staff inside even waved me goodbye, as if to say, "Welcome back next time." Just as my left foot stepped out of the tax office, my phone rang. "Greetings, Miss Layla. The airline's pickup car has arrived." Oh, it was the airport driver. Layla had said I would leave today, absolutely no delays until tomorrow. From booking a first-class ticket, going through security to boarding the plane, everything went smoothly. When I opened WeChat on the plane, now in stable flight mode, Ethan Gu's messages immediately caught my eye. "What? Prepare a room, Luna's staying tonight." That message was sent 2 hours ago. Below it were 2 more, sent an hour and 30 minutes ago, respectively. "Layla, what are you pouting about now?" And finally, just a question mark. Damn it, I was busy collecting money from his mother. Where would I have the time to read his messages? Would reading his messages get me 30 million yuan? Oh, wait, 27 million after 3 million in taxes. But wait a minute. Ethan wanted Luna to stay. Wouldn't he discover I was no longer there, and also realize the house was completely empty and bare? After all, the moment I heard Luna Lu, Ethan Gu's first love, was returning last week, I couldn't sit still. When Ethan went to the airport to pick up Luna Lu, I immediately called a luxury consignment service to liquidate my belongings. When Ethan took her to events, I went to appraise and sell my jewelry. The day Ethan announced Luna Lu was officially joining Gu Corporation, I had already cleared out all my assets in City A, including the incident where Mrs. Gu found me and threw money in my face to make me leave her son. Before that, I had consulted thoroughly with a lawyer on how to receive this money legally and safely. After all, Luna Lu herself had left Ethan Gu years ago because Mrs. Gu had thrown money at her to make her leave. It was just that Mrs. Gu never expected that after Luna Lu, Ethan would find a replacement that she disliked even more. So, remember that I acted as a shield. Now that Luna Lu was back, Mrs. Gu could easily accept her. Only I suffered. Ethan Gu had never given his heart to me, and his mother used money to force me to leave. I could only take my meager assets and quietly disappear from their lives. I had originally intended to quietly withdraw so Ethan Gu and Luna Lu could become a perfectly content couple. But why was Ethan still thinking of me now? Ethan Gu owned countless properties. I truly couldn't understand why he was so determined to arrange for Luna Lu to stay exactly where I used to live. But very quickly, I discovered the real reason for Ethan's frenzy: Luna Lu herself. As my flight landed, while waiting, I idly scrolled through Weibo to kill time. Weibo suggested a post: moonlight falling on Hugh's piece, still as familiar as ever. The painting I gave him is still here. The accompanying photo was the living room where I had lived for over 2 years, incredibly familiar. This account had been following me since last week, right when Luna Lu returned. Since then, every day, everything related to Ethan Gu and Luna Lu was updated in detail there. I recalled that after a thorough clear-out, the living room was now clean and tidy, with only the sofa, coffee table, and one single painting remaining on the wall. I even asked the buyer at the time, and he said the painting wasn't worth anything, so he didn't take it. Turns out, the painting that had hung in the living room for all those years was a gift from Ethan Gu's Moonlight. It felt like I'd been publicly cuckolded, and I was not happy at all. I needed to drink. I needed to call 10 hunky guys with abs to heal my soul. When Ethan Gu sent another message, I was standing at the entrance of Soul's Delight, the most luxurious hotspot for ladies in City G. All right, Layla, playing Runaway, are we? Looks like I've spoiled you too much these past 2 years. It seemed Ethan had indeed discovered I'd packed up and fled. Anyway, after my awakening, I had made Ethan Gu confirm that everything he had given me was voluntary, with recordings and clear notes for every payment. But he still had a powerful legal department behind him. What if he now discovered I'd run off with the money and tried to claim it back? So, might as well spend the money while I could. Especially since I was now surrounded by a parade of young, handsome, and charming men. Compared to them, a self-important, arrogant man like Ethan Gu was utterly bland. All right, I was cold to you for just a week, and you've already gone missing. Just then, Victor, a handsome and elegant young man, insisted on carrying me princess style and placing me on the sofa. Who gave you the audacity not to reply to my messages? Ethan, a typical bad boy, outwardly aloof but inwardly enthusiastic, pulled me closer and showed off his belly dancing and walnut-crushing skills. If you plan to use this to get my attention. Brandon, a stylish and artistic young man, glided his fingers across the piano keys, playing a fantasy impromptu with incredibly nimble hands. Layla, well done, you're driving me crazy. My left hand immediately dragged Ethan Gu's number into my block list. My right hand wasn't idle either. Ethan boldly declared that his belly dancing and walnut crushing were more captivating than playing the piano, even making me touch his abs to see how hard they were. Immersed in pleasure, oblivious to everything, I woke up the next day in a super luxurious mansion. Drowsily, I pressed the call button by the bedside, and immediately a group of servants poured in. From personal hygiene to clothes, everything was ready. It felt as if I had time-traveled into an ancient magnate's family. Tisk, you ran away from home to enjoy yourself like this. Does Ethan Gu know? A teasing male voice rang out from the doorway. Leaning against the frame was a man with alluring peach blossom eyes, a high, straight nose, and thin lips. If one judged people by appearance, everyone would say this was the type of man who was a playboy but heartless. Yet, this man, Hayden Hach, was the hopelessly devoted second male lead in this novel. According to the original storyline, after Luna Lu returned, her ambiguous actions with Ethan Gu hurt me, causing me to leave. I then went to City G to start over, finding a home and a job. But Luna Lu secretly played tricks, causing me to stumble repeatedly. At my lowest point, I met Hayden Hach, the richest young master in City G and a renowned playboy. Ironically, this charming playboy was attracted by my resilience. What started as simple help gradually turned into deeper feelings. In the end, even knowing I still harbored feelings for Ethan Gu, he fell deeply in love, unable to escape. At a crucial turning point in the plot, he even gave up a lucrative company project in City A just to help Ethan Gu and me be together. After my awakening, I absolutely refused to let that storyline play out. Months ago, I proactively approached Hayden Hach. Initially, I was just an anonymous online gamer. Knowing his preferences, I easily became his regular gaming partner. To avoid repeating the original plot where he developed feelings for me, I displayed a completely opposite personality from the start. In the original, I was gentle and shy, blushing just talking to the opposite sex. Now I was bold and uninhibited in game, constantly flirting. If I saw a handsome guy, I'd immediately demand to give them a home. In the original, I was understanding and patient, always saying I'm fine, it's nothing, sorry. Now I'd explode at the slightest provocation, my mouth full of, what's that got to do with me? Get lost, don't mess with me. Of course, simply relying on a game to make Hayden Hach an offline friend wasn't easy. But he was a rich young master, and rich kids always have a fear of being compared to their half-siblings or having their allowance cut by their father. Hayden Hach was no different. Of course, he wasn't afraid now. In recent months, Hatch Corporation had been developing incredibly strongly in the Southwest region, especially in City A. A significant part of that success was due to his efforts, and an even more significant part was due to mine. His father was delighted and, with a wave of his hand, wanted to hand over a few companies for him to manage. But Hayden Hach kept waving him off, saying, "Forget the companies, just transfer the money to my account." At this point, I had finished washing up, and the servants had cleared away breakfast and left. Hayden Hach sat in the super-luxurious reception area, leisurely sipping his morning tea, prattling on about his father's recent attitude towards him. I, however, was not pleased at all. "You idiot!" I snatched the spoon from his hand. The reason I continued to approach the second male lead after my awakening wasn't out of guilt or a desire for atonement, and certainly not to take revenge on the male lead by choosing the second male lead. The business intelligence I shared with Hayden Hach wasn't for him to curry favor with his father or earn extra pocket money. It was because, in this world, the second male lead was the highest level partnership I could access. The money I took from the Gu family, though nearly $100 million, was insignificant in the eyes of two powerful conglomerates like the Gus and Hatchs. Even with the money in hand, who could guarantee Ethan Gu or his mother wouldn't renege? If they decided to plot to reclaim that money, I couldn't be sure I could protect my assets against their power. I needed a strong backing, the Hatch family. Not only that, but I also wanted to leverage the Hatch family's influence for my own development. Even though I had awakened and knew the future plot, without a foundation in business or commercial resources, even $100 million would be swallowed by capital in an instant. I subtly coaxed Hayden Hach. Think about it. If you only want money, it'll run out eventually, right? Then you'll have to beg your father again. Plus, your older brother is very shrewd. Just because you don't compete doesn't mean he won't take what's rightfully yours. In a few more years, if your father wants to fully retire and hand all the companies over to him, what will you do then? Just surrender and ask your brother for pocket money every day. Hayden Hach fell silent, his expression shifting continuously. So what should I do? Listen to my dad and take over some companies? But managing companies is so much work. I just want to be a playboy and enjoy myself. Hayden Hach looked utterly distressed. See? That's why I couldn't stand him in the original plot either. No ambition, just a head full of romance. The moment his parents fell, he'd become a juicy piece of meat for the entire family to tear apart. Even if Ethan Gu was truly blind, at least he held power. He was a proper CEO of the Gu Corporation. But I didn't care for either of them. I still preferred Victor's waist, Ethan's abs, and Brandon's hands. Lost in my thoughts, I drifted off. Tusk, I still need to handle this kid first. I smiled at Hayden Hach and told him, "It's okay, I'll help you." Over the past few months, I hadn't just provided business intelligence, but also laid out detailed implementation plans, and he had witnessed the results himself. I told him to rest assured and take over the family companies. I would be his secretary, ensuring he wouldn't have to lift a finger. Money would make more money, so he could live lavishly later, free from his father's and brother's constraints. And the condition? Of course, I'd get a share of the profits. Hayden Hach didn't think much and readily agreed. "All right, Layla, no wonder you were with Ethan Gu, you really have a brain." I rolled my eyes in exasperation. "Right, where do you want to go today?" At this, I immediately perked up. "Aren't you the host? Shouldn't you fulfill your host duties? Why ask me? How would I know?" "All right, today I'll take you somewhere new. Oh, and those guys last night were pretty good, right? Well, today I'll introduce you to even better ones." I gradually understood why Hayden Hach had no ambition. At the club we went to today, even the security guard was a 1.85 m tall man with endlessly long legs. The ambience was nothing like I'd imagined, not a lively bar with flashing lights, but rather like stepping into a lavish, classical medieval palace. The air was filled with a sophisticated, indescribable scent, and melodious tunes played as a live orchestra performed right in the center of the palace. But what surprised me even more was seeing a familiar face. "Do you two know each other?" Hayden Hach asked, noticing my expression. I nodded, then shook my head. "Oh my God, isn't that the famous young actor from last year's hottest drama? I was even a fan of his good looks for a short while. Is he here to play too?" I gaped, truly unable to judge a book by its cover. I had always thought he was the innocent, adorable good boy type. "No," Hayden Hach replied casually. "They're all staff here. If you like him, just tell him to serve you later." Hayden Hach looked at me with pity, as if he felt sorry for someone who had never seen such a world. "But I advise you to look around, there are many more quality options here." As he spoke, the actor unexpectedly winked at me, practically begging, "Sister, choose me." Oh my heavens, corrupt capitalism, decadent capitalism, luxuriant and depraved capitalism. Wow, I absolutely must become a capitalist. "Layla, have you chosen yet?" "No, wait a minute, what's the point of choosing just one? One isn't enough. I play 1v5 in games. Am I supposed to do 1v1 at a club?" No wonder they say you can't let a poor person suddenly get rich. I immersed myself in this decadent, luxurious life for just a week, and I felt both physically and mentally drained. Of course, I didn't forget to closely follow Hayden Hatch's work progress. He didn't disappoint me either. Using a tactic of half coquetry, half seriousness in front of his father, he smoothly took over 2 companies. His father saw this as an opportunity to train his son. Those evil capitalists and their foolish capitalist son. These smooth-sailing, triumphant days went on for so long that I almost completely forgot about Ethan Gu's existence, until he called me again. "Layla, it's been so long. Do you realize your mistake yet?" Bad luck. I forgot to block his number. Annoyed, I firmly pinched the stomach of the young secretary beside me. "I know my mistake, I know it. I'm so wrong, I couldn't be more wrong. If I had known earlier that leaving him would lead to such a lavish and joyful life, I would have left ages ago." But actually, I had been incredibly busy lately. After Hayden Hach took over the companies, he only pretended to be serious in front of his father for 2 days before quickly transforming into an irresponsible chairman. I was so swamped with work that I didn't even have time to go out. But in return, this hard work brought me many achievements. Even though Hayden Hach loved to play, his father knew his son's true nature, so from the beginning, he hadn't entrusted him with Hach family's core businesses. In reality, even if he ran these 2 companies into the ground, it wouldn't have much impact. But what was remarkable was that these 2 average businesses, once in Hayden Hach's hands, suddenly developed by leaps and bounds. Of course, Chairman Hach knew full well his son's capabilities. He also clearly understood that behind Hayden Hach was me. I still remember Chairman Hach summoning me to Hach Corporation's headquarters last week. All the way there, my heart was uneasy. I didn't know how he saw me, or how I would be judged for managing the company on Hayden Hach's behalf. But I was completely unprepared for him to treat me as Hayden Hach's girlfriend. Even though I immediately clarified, he acted as if he understood everything, even appearing utterly reassured. He said that ever since his mother passed, Hayden Hach had shown no interest in the company, only indulging in debauchery. He tried scolding him, cajoling him, but it was all useless. Until a few months ago, when I appeared in his life. He witnessed firsthand his son's transformation. Even though Hayden Hach still loved to play and was lazy about going to the office, at least he showed some interest in business, and that was a good sign. Chairman Hach said he had investigated me. The moment I heard that, my heart skipped a beat. Damn it, the black mark of being Ethan Gu's ex-girlfriend, but he merely waved his hand dismissively. "Those things don't matter. As long as you guide Hayden Hach in the right direction, knowing what to do and what not to do, I'll turn a blind eye." Meaning, I could enjoy a share of the profits. At this, I immediately guessed that Mr. Hach knew about my secret company outside, and he was right. With the money I procured from Ethan Gu, I absolutely wouldn't just be a docile employee for Hayden Hach. Although, in reality, control of Hayden Hach's companies was in my hands, my official status was still just an employee. Even if I could bend the rules to make private gains, it would be a nervous and unsustainable path, and my profits would be limited. So, I took my existing assets and established a small company of my own. As for the business field, it naturally revolved around Hach Corporation's products, specializing in providing supportive products and services at competitive prices. Compared to external companies, I saved on promotional costs and significantly reduced operating expenses. Therefore, I could offer more competitive prices. With the same quality, Hatch Corporation had no reason not to choose me. After all, I also had a plan to link my interests with Hayden Hach, so I spoke to him frankly about it. That kid didn't even think much about it then, just waved his hand and gave me full authority as long as I kept my original promise to him. According to him, everyone makes money, right? If it's being made, it's better that we, brothers, benefit from it. With that, why would I hesitate? I went all in. Yes, in Hayden Hatch's eyes, I was now his sworn brother. So I truly couldn't understand Mr. Hatch. He seemed open-minded about everything, yet he stubbornly insisted I was Hayden Hatch's girlfriend. What kind of boyfriend goes out partying all day and leaves his girlfriend alone, buried in office work? But it didn't matter what he thought. As long as the current situation was beneficial to me, anything was negotiable. I followed Chairman Hatch's words, and from then on, I began my plan to cultivate Hayden Hatch. At least for now, Hayden Hatch was essential for my brilliant future. So, Hayden Hatch went to a bar, and the bar was inspected for fire safety. Hayden Hatch went to a nightclub, and the nightclub was raided by police for social vices. The most ridiculous part was when he hosted a party on his yacht, and the yacht had a power outage. Hayden Hatch, I've lived for over 20 years and never encountered anything this bizarre. He sat in his sports car, hair disheveled, running his hands through his locks in despair. I pursed my lips, looking at him with a serious expression. "Brother, there's actually something I must tell you." Hayden Hatch looked at me, puzzled. "How can there be so many coincidences in this world? Let's not talk about anything far-fetched. Just look at these inspections." Think about it as the great young master of the Hatch family. Have you ever encountered such things before? Even if they don't respect you, they have to respect your father, right? Didn't they always clear the path for you before? Hearing this, Hayden Hatch's expression gradually grew serious, and he began to ponder. I continued to push the issue to a climax. And the yacht, think about it, that's your private treasure. Logically, someone maintains it carefully every day, yet it suddenly lost power. Who would believe that? After listening, Hayden Hatch immediately became alert. Could someone be trying to assassinate me? Oh well, stupidity has its benefits. At least he's easy to trick. I told him that he had never cared about Hatch Corporation's development, so he didn't know that Hatch Corporation was actually slowly declining. The two companies we were running, as subsidiaries of Hatch Corporation, definitely required mutual cooperation, so I was very clear about the situation. Precisely because Hatch Corporation was declining, those people started disrespecting him. They began to neglect the maintenance of his yacht. What about later? One day, he might walk out and be tripped or have a dog pee on his shoes and no one would even care. Furthermore, haven't you noticed your father's hair has grayed a lot recently? Hayden Hatch frowned, contemplating for a moment, then hesitantly nodded. He's been so worried, so exhausted. Think about it at his age, with a son who's good for nothing and a company facing bankruptcy. If it were me, I'd also lose sleep from worry. For a rare moment, a hint of guilt flickered across Hayden Hatch's face. He pursed his lips, then suddenly asked me, "But how do you know my dad's hair is gray?" I didn't even blink. "I saw it on TV, of course. Are you kidding?" Although I called him chairman every day, he didn't look old at all. After all, as the helmsman of Hatch Corporation, he had an entire team dedicated to his health. So, even at 60, he had a full head of black hair. To reform Hayden Hatch, Mr. Hatch had even specially collaborated with me, bleaching and dyeing his hair a smoky gray. What was rare was that the day he discovered his father's gray hair, Hayden Hatch didn't go out to play, but returned home to have dinner at the Hatch family villa. I don't know what the father and son talked about, but it definitely provided enough spiritual compensation, because that very night, Mr. Hatch's secretary called me, asking me to arrange for Hayden Hatch and me to work at Hatch Corporation's headquarters. Additionally, Mr. Hatch also kept an eye on my small company. To prevent me from getting too busy and neglecting his young master, he decided to invest in my company. This meant that Hatch Corporation and its subsidiaries officially and publicly partnered with me. With this move, Mr. Hatch also subtly sent a message to the business world. This small company has Hatch Corporation backing it. Haha, another step up. My company's side grew rapidly. I also asked Mr. Hatch to help me find 2 professional directors so I wouldn't have to worry about anything anymore. As for Hayden Hatch, fearing the family's bankruptcy, he studied harder and harder. Mr. Hatch was overjoyed to see his son improving day by day, and my bank account balance kept soaring. Every day, I woke up full of energy. I was so busy I barely remembered Ethan Goo's name anymore. Since I blocked his number, he actually quieted down for a while. But then, like embers rekindling, he found every possible way to bother me using different numbers. After all, I was now a small boss and a high-level executive of a conglomerate with an incredibly busy work schedule. My work phone received dozens of calls every day. Even though I had set up a whitelist to block all unknown numbers, and my muscled secretary strictly controlled another phone, I still couldn't escape Ethan Gu's insane antics. He borrowed phone numbers from industry bigwigs to call me. After calling, he wouldn't say anything. I'd say hello, hello, hello for a long time, only to finally hear the awkward voices of those CEOs. Sorry, CEO Layla, CEO Gu just borrowed my phone and seemed to have dialed the wrong number. Damn it, that's the epitome of nerve. But I didn't want to completely burn bridges with Ethan Gu just yet. After all, business is business. Gu Corporation had significant influence in the Southwest region, and I wanted to expand my market there, so I couldn't completely ignore him. It wouldn't hurt to have him, but if he felt guilty towards me, my work would be much easier. So I just let him go crazy. Later, when I saw him liking my Weibo posts, I didn't even block him. Sometimes, when I had free time, I would even hug my young secretary and casually post some emotional status updates. Immediately, Ethan Gu would rush to send me private messages. I read them all but didn't reply. My main rule was to play with his emotions. Let him imagine, fret, and agonize. Let him guess. I thought Ethan Gu was already crazy enough, but I didn't expect Luna Lu to be even crazier. She posted an ambiguous photo on Weibo. In the picture, she was wearing a silk slip dress, her cleavage peeking out, taking a selfie in front of a mirror. But the highlight wasn't her. It was Ethan Gu in the background, sleeping with his eyes closed, leaning against the bed. The caption, reeking of provocation, read, "Your moonlight, also your cinnabar mole." I immediately screenshotted it and exited the app. Another second, and I would have wanted to cleanse my eyes and wonder how anyone could be this foolish. But I immediately guessed her motive. Based on the original plot, after returning to the country, Luna Lu used every manipulative trick to push me out of Ethan Gu's life. But she didn't stop there. Every day, she posted on Weibo in private mode, only for me to see, with repetitive content showing sweet moments with Ethan Gu. She was so diligent, posting 3 times a day, even more dedicated than those who specialize in fake check-ins. How did I know she set it to only for me to see? Because in the original, later, when Ethan and I reconciled, I once borrowed his phone to scroll Weibo and discovered it. But even in the original, no matter how egregious, she never posted photos like this. Perhaps because the storyline had changed, Ethan Gu's attitude towards me was different from before, leading to a reverse effect on her. Thinking about how the original plot manipulated me and how much I endured, I grew even more irritated. I nonchalantly reposted the screenshot on Weibo, tagging Ethan Gu. At Ethan Gu, I sincerely advise you, for the sake of Gu Corporation's stock price, to manage your woman well. I didn't expect a casual post to cause such a storm online. I was in a meeting at the time when my assistant rushed in to inform me, "Mr. Gu, your manage your woman post is going viral." He even urged me to check Weibo. Oh my goodness, why did my Weibo explode like this? I scrolled a bit more closely. Turns out, Luna Lu had hastily posted a defense for herself, full of sour insinuations that I was jealous of her. Even more hilariously, netizens were divided into 2 fiercely debating camps. One side cheered, "Wow, the beautiful sister. Truly a perfect match. Some old women are just jealous, that's why they're tagging randomly, right?" The other side said, "Honestly, this lady's reminder isn't wrong. If photos like this get out, whether CEO Gu is a playboy or not isn't the point, but his inability to control the people around him is enough to make investors lose faith. If I were a shareholder, I'd be wary of investing in this company." I stared at the screen. "What, old woman? Helen, am I old?" I asked my assistant. "Sir, are you kidding me? Last time at that big director's party that young Master Hatch took you to, he even invited you to play the genius student in his film. Did you forget?" I touched my face. Right. Spending a 7-figure sum on beauty and skincare every year wasn't useless after all. Could it be that the Weibo verification led netizens to misunderstand? Helen, guessing the reason for my question, immediately opened my personal page. Assistant CEO of Hatch Corporation. I suddenly remembered that not long ago, the PR department had suggested that the company brand could learn from the Meishi Group's strategy. Recently, Meishi's high-level executives had all created social media accounts to increase brand recognition. At the time, I strongly supported this plan. So, the PR department used my account for verification. It was just a verification badge, not even a profile picture. But I was so busy I completely forgot about it. Oh my God, just a title, and people already imagine me as a middle-aged woman. I'm several years younger than Luna Lu, you know? Plus, I'm more experienced and more charming. But this wave of popularity, if leveraged correctly, was a great opportunity to build my personal image and become Hatch Corporation's first media personality. I immediately called an emergency meeting with the marketing and PR departments. After just one night, the counterattack plan was completed. The PR department immediately invited a famous photographer to shoot a new set of photos for me. The result was that even I thought I looked exceptionally beautiful. According to the plan, my personal account would only post a short message. Past stories cannot be held onto. The future holds many things worth looking forward to. This contained many hidden meanings. After all, I used to be Ethan Gu's girlfriend. I knew this would eventually be dug up. Instead of letting others expose me, it was better to proactively release the information myself. So, I only posted a single status update. As for the company, it let news outlets, accidentally, reveal my identity as Ethan Gu's ex-girlfriend, even subtly implying that Luna Lu might have been a homewrecker. Hatch Corporation also immediately cooperated, posting a series of photos of me attending recent project conferences and even sharing some related news. The goal was to enhance my image as a dedicated, professional, and elegant businesswoman. If before public opinion was divided into two warring factions, now everyone leaned completely to one side. Jealous? Who said Sister Layla was jealous of that green tea bitch Luna? Step up and take a slap. Ah, I forbid anyone from saying that. Who hasn't seen Sister Layla's profile picture? Her intelligence and elegant demeanor are top tier. I'm in love. Gu Corporation is truly foolish. Did they only just realize they had such a precious gem? She's their company's living business card. I advise you beauty-obsessed fools to look at her work resume, and you'll love her even more. Isn't it enough? Such an outstanding person, yet she became an ex-girlfriend replaced by some homewrecker. Men are truly dogs, thinking dog poop outside smells better than home-cooked meals. Hey, don't just keep running to Hatch Corporation's page to praise them. You should also go to Gu Corporation's page for gossip. HMPH, that scum Ethan Gu. Sisters, tomorrow morning, I want to see Gu Corporation go bankrupt. I wonder where Ethan Gu is hiding now, regretting everything, comparing that Luna to my perfectly talented and beautiful self. I didn't know if Ethan Gu felt regret or not, but Gu Corporation's official account had yet to make any move. I was a bit curious because my side already had a media plan ready to counter any moves from Gu Corporation. But that plan wasn't needed. Because the very next day, I ran into Ethan Gu at a business party. It was a private party hosted by an influential figure in City G, and Ethan Gu's appearance there was quite unexpected. I was with Hayden Hach. The moment Hayden saw Ethan Gu, he raised an eyebrow and smirked. Today, Gu Corporation's stock is greener than a prairie, yet he still has the mood to come here to look for you, huh? I also raised an eyebrow. I don't know either. Say he was just attending the party was a bit unreasonable, because City A was thousands of kilometers away. Furthermore, this party had nothing to do with Gu Corporation's business activities. But Ethan Gu didn't let us wonder for long, because he had indeed come to find me. As soon as he saw me, he immediately explained, the photo Luna Lu posted was taken by her when I was drunk. There's nothing between her and me, and certainly not the kind of relationship rumored online. Ha. Whether you do or don't has nothing to do with me. Layla, come back. I know you're angry with me because of Luna Lu. I admit I was indiscreet before. I also didn't know she did so many things behind my back to provoke you. But don't worry, I've already fired her from Gu Corporation. And if you still want to continue working, you can at Gu Corporation. I can even give you the position of vice president. Cough, 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 I choked on my water. Wait, what me, Layla? Am I a recycling station or something? Vice president of Gu Corporation was indeed impressive. In the original, Gu Corporation was very powerful, but that was thanks to Ethan Gu's male lead aura, plus me, the foolish female lead, draining resources from the second male lead to offer them to him. But now, today, Gu Corporation's stock plummeting was just the beginning. I didn't believe an owner who couldn't even manage his private life, blind and unable to see people clearly, could lead a corporation to greater success. If I remember correctly from the original plot, Ethan Gu only proactively sought me out after I had returned to City A after leaving him. I struggled to gain a foothold in City G. I found a job alone, found and moved into a house alone, and nursed myself through illness in the hospital alone. Meanwhile, Luna Lu was taken everywhere by Ethan Gu day after day, appearing at luxurious, high-end venues and receiving expensive gifts with him. It was as if Ethan Gu was desperately trying to compensate for their years apart, trying to use multiplied indulgence towards Luna Lu to erase all traces of me from the past years. And the first time he actively came looking for me was after I had returned to City A. By then, I had already known Hayden Hach, and our relationship wasn't bad. Hatch Corporation was expanding its market to City A. He said he wasn't familiar with the area and invited me to go scouting with him. And I reunited with Ethan Gu after I had completely transformed, no longer flustered, confused, or struggling, but a new me, calm and confident. But upon meeting again, we fell back into a tangled spiral. Luna Lu continued to sow discord, and Ethan Gu still couldn't see her true colors. While claiming to love me, he always chose to side with her. And in the original, I was as if under a spell, unable to escape this web. I even helped Ethan Gu gain advantages right in front of Hayden Hach. Just thinking about it makes me want to curse myself. The only explanation is that the author had a fetish for tormenting the protagonist, or my brain was controlled by someone infatuated with blind love. But after my awakening, I was different. My right to choose a partner was finally no longer bound by the original plot. I no longer needed to seek out pain to love again. I decisively rejected Ethan Gu, but still spoke very politely. I was used to leaving 3 parts of a retreat route when working, not to easily turn back, but to help myself move forward more smoothly in the future. Luna Lu appeared just as the dinner party ended. Ethan Gu received a call, his face showing clear exasperation, but after he hung up, the caller kept calling back. Finally, he just turned off his phone. As the party dispersed, everyone headed towards the main exit. That's when I saw Luna Lu. She was being blocked by the doorman. Seeing Ethan Gu, her face showed a mix of confusion and embarrassment. "Ethan, what's wrong? Why aren't you answering your phone? They won't even let me in." But the moment she saw me, she immediately fell silent. Then anger flared in her eyes. "What a coincidence. So you're here too, Layla. You shameless woman, you clearly have another man by your side, yet you're still pining for Ethan. Think you're so great now, huh? In the end, you still have to rely on men. Enough, shut your mouth." This scene attracted the attention of quite a few people. Many guests who were leaving stopped to watch. Ethan Gu looked mortified, his eyes on Luna Lu filled with disgust. He turned to me, his gaze apologetic, about to say something, but I just smiled and cut him off. "CEO Gu, I still stand by my sincere advice from before. Manage your woman well. Don't let her embarrass you in public. Her mouth is as foul as a N39. Who knows when she'll cause trouble for you? N39 is the chromosome number of a dog." As I walked past Luna Lu, I met her angry gaze. I smiled faintly, correcting her words. "Miss Lu, don't use your own circumstances to judge others. I have no interest in Ethan Gu. Furthermore, even if you managed to get into this party, your status would only be the CEO's +1 girlfriend. I, on the other hand, am an official guest, personally invited by the host to discuss important collaborations, something even Ethan Gu didn't want to bring you to. I advise you not to take out your anger on other women. If I were you, I'd either dump this man or leverage him to elevate myself." Just then, the doorman drove my car to the front. I glanced at Hayden Hach, implicitly asking if he was coming along. Hayden Hach was still engrossed in the recent drama, a faint smile playing on his lips. "You go ahead. My car is right behind yours." Stopping at a red light, I unconsciously remembered a detail from the original plot. After I reunited with Ethan Gu, there was an instance where Luna Lu, pouting, asked him to take her to a party. It was the golden wedding anniversary of a respected senior in the industry. Such parties usually only invited official couples. The senior's daughter knew me. She sent an invitation, saying she would send me a formal card. At that time, I knew Ethan Gu had a very close relationship with that senior and would definitely attend, so I told her not to bother sending a card, as I would go with Ethan Gu. But in the end, I waited, and he never invited me. Instead, I saw photos of him and Luna Lu in the newspapers, appearing together at the party, laughing and talking as sweet as honey. I shouldn't lose myself like that. Compared to my weak and passive self in the original, I still preferred my current version. I like the feeling of always being in control of my life, so I should celebrate my current freedom. Thinking this, I drove home while texting my assistant to book a venue for me. The assistant immediately replied, "Sister, how many people do you need to drink with? 7, 8 people. Just pick according to your taste." I think the reason I kept Helen as my assistant, besides him being handsome and well-built, was because he never slacked off. But I didn't expect him to be *2 diligent, never slacking off, never even questioning my orders. So, when I arrived, I was utterly speechless. The entire hall was packed. The restaurant manager, with a proud look of having performed a great service, excitedly reported to me that all the top-tier goods in the city were present. I was about to call Helen immediately to question him, but when I looked back at the message I had sent while waiting at the red light, I realized I had typed 78 people, pick according to my taste. 7, 8 people and 70, 80 people. Well, they do look a bit similar. I looked at the scene before me, which resembled a job fair, and secretly calculated how drunk I would get if everyone toasted me with a drink. Oh well, might as well do a good deed while I'm at it. So I took out my phone and started calling friends. CEO Yao, CEO Zio, CEO Ayang, Miss Lee, Miss He, Miss Ma. Each and every one of them received an invitation. Don't say only men like to sip wine and discuss business. We women like it too. And just like that, all the top male models in City G gathered, providing attentive service that delighted my girl squad. As a result, for the entire month that followed, I took turns signing contracts with each CEO. The story of my legendary one-click purchase, ordering 85 male models at once, also spread far and wide. Unexpectedly, the first person to seek me out was Chairman Hach. Although I had presented him with exceptionally impressive financial reports in the last 2 quarters, he still seemed dissatisfied. "Miss Layla, you should know the most important reason why I allowed you into Hach Corporation. But clearly, your recent actions have gone too far." "What reason? Isn't it because I'm exceptional?" I pondered seriously. "Moreover, I've helped Hayden Hach progress more and more." "But do you know why my son listens to you so much? Isn't it because we staged a play to trick him into believing the family was on the verge of bankruptcy?" Chairman Hach clearly didn't want to continue talking to me. He gestured for his secretary to bring a stack of documents. If until now, I had been confident that after my awakening, everything was within my plan, that I had reached this point entirely through my own efforts, then this stack of documents was a direct slap to that belief. It turned out that everything I thought I had meticulously arranged, from meeting Hayden Hach in the game to our sworn brotherhood to the smooth establishment of my small company, all had his hand in it. Hayden truly likes you. He's also the one who's accompanied you to reach your current position. I think you need to understand that, Miss Layla. Everyone wants to live the life they desire. But I clearly cannot accept your current lifestyle. I don't want you to hurt my son. So why don't we be direct? You have 2 paths to choose. First, marry Hayden and become a daughter-in-law of the Hach family. If you want to continue working at Hach Corporation, I will reserve a position for you on the board of directors. But there's one condition. Once you enter the Hach family, you must abide by the Hach family's rules. Second, leave Hayden, and I will reclaim everything I've given you. Chairman Hach was forcing me to marry his son. In the original, I knew he had 2 sons. Although the eldest was more outstanding, the one he loved most was the youngest. Otherwise, how could Hayden Hach have had enough power in the original to use family assets to coax me? But I never expected him to use coercive tactics to force me to marry his son. If I chose option 1, what would be the point of all my efforts to escape the original plot? I'd still fall into the same trap. If I chose option 2, would everything I had worked for all this time amount to nothing? Chairman Hach was an old fox, seasoned in the business world for many years. When he said reclaim, he definitely wouldn't just be referring to the small benefits I gained within Hach Corporation. I smiled calmly and replied, "Mr. Hach, I won't choose either. What's so interesting about making things difficult for a small, insignificant girl like me? If you have something to say, why don't you talk directly to your son?" Perhaps a man accustomed to standing at the top had never imagined his authority would be challenged. The moment I turned my back and walked away, the crisp sound of shattering porcelain echoed behind me. I walked out of the Hach family gates, back straight. Hayden Hach came to find me. We stood facing each other in silence for a long time. Then he admitted everything. What he said was no different from the documents his father had shown me. It was truly laughable. What I thought I had earned through my own efforts turned out to be gifts silently bestowed by those at the top. But it didn't matter. My goal had been achieved. At least I had reached a higher and freer position compared to the original plot. Hayden Hach, you don't have to go this far for me. If Hayden Hach was merely a hopelessly devoted second male lead in the original, then from what I had experienced, he had become unbelievably subservient. Ask around. Is there anyone in this world who would watch the person they liked hugging handsome men on the left and right, yet still quietly back her career development? No one. But Hayden Hach did just that. If I told you I had lived a whole lifetime where you hesitated between me and Ethan Gu and lost your freedom, even your life, because of him? He looked up at me, his deep eyes serious as never before. Ah, Layla, rather than lose you forever, I'd prefer you to be free to choose the life you love. Ah, Layla. This was the name Hayden Hach used to call me in the original. Yet, until now, he had only called me Layla, CEO Layla, or brother. In that moment, it felt as if time pulled me back to a non-existent memory. But then, haha, just kidding, look at you, how scared you are. Hayden Hach burst out laughing, breaking the suffocating atmosphere. Oh my God, brother, you scared me to death. I playfully punched his chest, wanting to dispel that strange feeling. News of Gu Corporation divesting a business segment spread after half a year. Although Gu Corporation outwardly announced they wanted to focus on core areas, everyone in the industry clearly understood what was happening. In the past 1 to 2 years, Gu Corporation had heavily invested in a new field, but the core technology they needed was suddenly acquired by Hach Corporation. Coupled with slow growth in their main business, Gu Corporation's financial situation became increasingly difficult. In reality, a lean camel is still bigger than a horse. With the Gu family's accumulated wealth over many years, Ethan Gu shouldn't have had to sell assets. But unfortunately, I possessed information he didn't. In the original plot, I was the devoted female lead, wholeheartedly helping Ethan Gu. Naturally, I knew Gu Corporation's fatal weaknesses. Moreover, I had not only information but also resources. With the seamless cooperation between Hayden Hach and me, Gu Corporation's bankruptcy was only a matter of time. We met at a riverside bar, raising our glasses to celebrate our victory. At this point, I had already left Hach Corporation. As for Hayden Hach, to prevent Chairman Hach from making things difficult for me, he had agreed to accept the position of CEO of the conglomerate. Sometimes, I even suspected that Chairman Hach's coercive tactics that day were simply a plan to force his son to take over the company. But never mind that. What mattered was that Hayden Hach and I were now working together very harmoniously. Before I left Hach Corporation, the department I was in charge of had achieved 3 consecutive quarters of profit growth, leaving behind a beautiful report. After that, I dedicated myself wholeheartedly to running my own company. Initially, my company developed in parallel with Hach Corporation with fairly good results. But when I officially took over, I began expanding into other areas. After all, relying entirely on others is putting oneself in a dangerous position. The business segment that Gu Corporation sold off was what I bought back. This was a debt I couldn't swallow internally. That segment was the area where Gu Corporation and Hach Corporation had once competed in the original plot, and it was because of me that Hayden Hach had personally yielded it. Now, I bought it back and returned it to him. Gu Corporation is in such dire straits now. To say it's buying back is really just Ethan Gu almost gifting it to you. I wonder if he'll be furious if he knows you just bought it to hand it straight over to me. Hayden Hach chuckled sarcastically. I just gave a faint smile and didn't refute him. Looking back at everything, not completely burning bridges with Ethan Gu had indeed brought me many benefits. I met Luna Lu again. This time, it was at an industry exhibition in City A. She was talking to a client. When the client agreed to sign the contract, she couldn't help but let out a joyful, hushed shout. If Luna Lu used to be a delicate and gentle person, now she was noticeably stronger and more resilient. Her attire was no longer as elaborate and refined as before, but it exuded powerful vitality. When I left the exhibition, it was pouring rain outside. My assistant had dropped me off and then gone to another location in City A for work, and it would be quite a while before he returned to pick me up. I opened a ride-hailing app, but the queue was too long, estimated to be at least an hour's wait. Just then, Luna Lu appeared. I thought I had mistaken you at the exhibition, but it really is you. At this time, with this weather, it's very hard to get a cab. If you don't mind, I can give you a ride. I turned to look at her, but she suddenly looked up, avoiding my gaze. Of course, if you prefer to stand here in the rain and wait for an hour or two, then just pretend I said nothing. I replied nonchalantly. Hu and Gusun Trang, huh? That's my address. Luna Lu and I didn't exchange a single word the entire way. I figured she still hated me, just as I had never been able to stand her. As we approached my drop-off point, she didn't forget to take a jab. Wearing such high heels and running around outside every day, aren't you afraid of twisting your ankle? You always have a driver, so you probably can't walk more than a few steps, can you? Of course, today's an exception, I retorted immediately. But just then, a piercing horn ripped through the cold, rainy night. A massive truck, out of control, swerved directly into the right lane. And the woman who had once said she hated me gripped the steering wheel tightly, using the car itself to shield against the impact. A powerful crash. The world spun. I don't know how much time had passed, perhaps an hour, perhaps just a second. Layla, Layla, get out quickly. A weak voice came from the driver's seat. From my vantage point, Luna Lu was covered in blood, almost unrecognizable. I bit my lip, struggling to unbuckle my seatbelt, but since the car had overturned, the belt was jammed. I tried to reach out, wanting to unbuckle Luna Lu's first. Layla, don't worry about me. Blood from her forehead streamed down, blurring her vision. The world was just a red haze. Luna Lu, shut up. Layla, I've always hated you. If I could do it all over again, I'd probably still be jealous of you, still try to go against you. But I really like the way you shine. I hate you, but thank you, Layla. You made me want to try a different life. It turns out a life where you're truly in control is so wonderful. Luna Lu, we might die here. I'm sorry, Layla, I shouldn't have waited for you. Wah, I also never expected that the first time I truly wanted to help you, it would cost you your life. In my next life, I'll treat you well to make it up to you, okay? Luna Lu spoke, using her last ounce of strength to try and unlatch my seatbelt, as if pouring her remaining life force into that action. But it was too late. The vehicle that hit us was a fuel tanker. I heard the gushing sound of liquid. Gasoline must have spilled everywhere. And then, a blinding flash of light enveloped both of us. The world fell completely silent. I woke up from a dream. The world was strangely silent. On the bedside table, an anti-heroine novel, the male lead chases his wife into the fire pit, lay quietly. I flipped through the pages. The plot remained unchanged. It was all just a dream. How could the female lead of an anti-heroine novel live such a glorious life? She would ultimately be bound by love, tormented her whole life, and die in sorrow. It was all just a dream. Right. If placed in reality, those in power would never easily give up their positions. A man standing at the pinnacle of fame, possessing wealth and power, would never love only one person for a lifetime. Even less would he suffer to his core, endlessly tormented, after losing a woman. If a man could choose a bird in a cage, why would he willingly become a stepping stone for a woman to climb higher? Not just the novel, but even my dream painted men too perfectly while diminishing the female lead too much. I walked barefoot into the bathroom, used a lighter to set the novel ablaze. I watched the flames engulf each page until only ashes remained, eventually washed away down the drain. I had burned this world. The anger in my heart hadn't subsided. I thought novels shouldn't be written that way. I opened my laptop, typing word by word, creating a different life for my Layla. My Layla. She is exceptional, resilient, and strong. She attracts outstanding men just like herself and has experienced a few relationships, but the ups and downs of love are merely seasoning in her exciting life. This world isn't lacking men like Ethan Gu or Hayden Hach. But the truth is, such men only possess Ethan Gu's narcissism and Hayden Hach's philandering. Men in power never yield an inch for the sake of emotion. Layla knows the rules of this world, so she never falls into the sweet traps men set. She uses everything around her to climb higher, even if that path is thorny, even far more difficult than in the novel or my dream, but she never gives up. She will forever love herself the most, putting herself first. She leverages every resource to climb from the foot of the mountain to the peak, overcoming countless sharp thorns, until every wound on her body transforms into armor, a mark of growth. The world may ridicule her as an iron lady, call her manipulative or ambitious. She only sees these as compliments. How can an eagle soaring in the sky hear the petty chatter on the ground? In her sights, there is only the vast land and higher peaks yet to conquer.